Jiyu Jingchu and I were reborn at the same time in our previous life. We were deeply in love and surrounded by children and grandchildren. But after I was reborn, the news I awaited was that he had gone to the assistant minister's household to propose marriage. In our last life, I had no regrets toward you. In this one, I want to live a different way. If you still want to be with me, then wait for me for 5 years. In 5 years, I'll marry you as a wife of equal status. After returning home, I sent a letter to the scholar far away in Yangju. Jiyu Jingchu doesn't know that. In fact, I also want a different kind of life. Miss, Lord Gu's betrothal gifts have been carried to the vice minister's residence. Xiongji brought news from outside. Watching my expression carefully, my hand tightened for a moment around the teacup while we were eating last night. My parents asked about my marriage. I said, let's wait a little longer and see what Jiyu Jingchu says. Thinking of how in our past life we treated each other with utmost respect, we were seen as an immortal couple by the world. Who would have thought that in an instant reality would slap us hard in the face? Miss, are you alright? Xiongji is worried I'm upset. I set the teacup on the table, unexpectedly calm. I even let out a breath of relief. Lord Jiyu has arrived. A servant outside came to report. I nodded and let him in. When we met again, we were both more certain the other had been reborn. That look in the eyes can't fool anyone. Jiyu Jingchu, eyes red, said, sorry, why? I followed his words and asked a question. He said, in my last life I had no regrets toward you. In this life, I want to live differently. I nodded. Just like in the previous life, I never defied him. Jiyu Jingchu was very satisfied with my reaction, and the pity on his face deepened. You know as well as I do, Liu Wanqin won't live to 20. Once she's gone, I'll come back for you. I jerked my head up, unable to contain my emotions any longer, and cried out, you want me to wait 5 years and then be your second wife? What if she doesn't die, too? Jiyu Jingchu frowned. If she's not dead, I'll marry you as a co-wife. A co-wife is still a concubine. I lowered my eyes. A heart that had been utterly calm was finally ruffled by the wind. Together for a lifetime. And I still don't understand him well enough. Jiyu Jingchu's voice cooled a few degrees. Her health is poor. What's the harm in yielding to her a bit? You know she died in her past life from excessive worry. If I had married her earlier, perhaps it could have been different. I chuckled and decided not to argue anymore. Okay. Jiyu Jingchu let out a sigh, his expression softening. I know you've been wronged, too. Don't worry, the wedding banquet then won't be any worse than now. You know as well as I do that in 5 years, my status will only be higher. He left, back straight, striding like the wind. Xiangji was beside herself with anxiety. How could you agree, miss? What is Liu Wanqin's status, and what is yours? How could it possibly be you becoming her concubine? I smiled and tapped her forehead. I don't want Jiyu Jingchu anymore. What's the harm in giving him to Liu Wanqin? 3. The next day, I ran into Liu Wanqin at the treasure pavilion after a lifetime apart. She looked much more radiant. Sister Qingyang, I heard you were waiting for Lord Jiyu to come propose, but unfortunately, he went to me. The betrothal gifts have already been agreed upon, and the date has been set. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, sister. Unfortunately, the words didn't sound very pleasant. When did I ever say I'd wait for him to come propose? Is this the kind of upbringing the Liu family has? Slandering and insulting my reputation. Are you looking to pay a visit to the Court of Judicial Review? Liu Wanqin turned pale with fright. Master Jiyu, She walked toward Jiyu Jingchu in tears. He had just come in and was clearly unaware of what she had said earlier. Without giving her a chance to explain, his face turned cold. Bu Qingyang, why are you making things hard for her? Sir, don't criticize my sister. She's upset too. I can understand that. Before I could retort, Liu Wanqin had already spoken up. Jiyu Jingchu let out a cold snort. If you're unwilling, you can always find someone else. Wanqin is frail. I won't allow you to act recklessly. If I catch you bullying her again, I won't let you off. With that, he supported Liu Wanqin as they left. The jewelry in the box was the very set he gave me in our previous life after our betrothal. No wonder I've always liked silk flowers, not pearls and jade. How could he have given me this? So it was never prepared for me in the first place, for somehow the affairs of the treasure pavilion were spread around. Everyone in the capital says I am waiting pitifully for Jiyu Jiangchu, but was snatched away by the miss of the Liu family. Mother was so angry she kept wiping her tears. There used to be plenty of suitors coming to propose. But after this mess, who would still be willing to show up, for no good reason? Her reputation is ruined. I glanced at my father's livid face and ventured, "Father, do you happen to have a student in Yangju, named Kai Jingyan?" He froze, looking over in surprise. "You mean?" I lowered my eyes with a light smile. "Your daughter thinks Yangju is quite nice, but he's only a shoutsai now, although it's only a matter of time before he makes his mark. Father thinks highly of him." My previous life also proved that my father's judgment was right. I chose him not only because of his future achievements, but also because he was self-disciplined and courteous all his life, never married, and came from a clean, simple family. After marrying and bearing children, I realized that marriage is really no big deal. Jiyu Jingchu was right. If I could live again, I should try a different life. My father sent someone to deliver a letter, and I went with it, but a month passed and Kai Jingyan did not reply. It wasn't until this day that I met him at home. He wore a blue robe, standing under the long corridor, his figure thin and lonely, looking cold in the autumn sun. Hearing the sound, Kai Jingyan turned and looked over. "Miss Bu." I stepped forward to greet him. "Young Master Kai, is this your reply? Sending the formal notice?" "What?" he explained earnestly. "A gang tie." So fast. Seeing my look of surprise, his handsome brows furrowed slightly. "Miss, is there anything else you wish to command?" No, it's fine." Kai Jingyan truly was different from others. The marriage was decided so simply. Coincidentally, the final date happened to be the same day as Jiyu Jingchu's. "Do you object, miss? If needed, we can change it." He specifically asked for my opinion. I shook my head. "Pretty good." I met Jiyu Jingchu again a month later on the way to Daxiangguo Temple. King Minute was assassinated. Kai Jingyan and Jiyu Jingchu both went to rescue him, but unfortunately Kai Jingyan got him out first. The ginseng that saved the princess in my previous life was also given to Kai Jingyan by me. Jiyu Jingchu arrived a step too late, his face ashen. "Did you tell him?" I shook my head. "We just happened to run into each other. We're going to Daxiangguo Temple to burn incense. Everyone goes there. And since I've recently become betrothed to Kai Jingyan, I especially wanted to pray for safety and good fortune." Jiyu Jingchu frowned tightly. "He was your father's disciple, the one who served as governor of Yangju in his past life. But a mere governor, how could he compare to my second rank Minister of the Interior, Bu Qingyang? Don't tell me you chose this husband for yourself." The matter of my engagement to Kai Jingyan was something he wanted kept secret. He planned to announce it only after next spring's imperial examinations, so Jiyu Jingchu still didn't know. "What is this?" Before I could answer, the sachet in his hand had already been taken by Jiyu Jingchu. He chuckled to himself and returned the sachet to me. "Keep it with you for now. I'm afraid Wan Qin would be upset if she saw it, and give it back to me in 5 years." I was overthinking. "Why would you choose anyone else?" Jiyu Jingchu was very confident, assuming the sachet was requested for him. I couldn't help but express my doubt. "On what basis do you think I would wait for you for 5 years? Weren't we very close in our past life?" He said with certainty. I tried to recall. It seemed we were close, but not close enough for me to abandon my family and wait for him for 5 years. I shook my head, not wanting to speak further. Jiyu Jingchu, however, grabbed my wrist and said in a low voice, "Let this go for now, but don't stand in my way again. Bu Qingyang, since we've got another chance, I think we can aim a little higher." I turned back and ran into the desire in his eyes, which made my heart skip. Suddenly I was glad he had chosen Liu Wanqin back then, but I hadn't expected this scene to be seen by Kai Jingyan. He stood under the corridor, as still as a painting. I wanted to explain, but could only say hoarsely, "I won't do anything immoral. You can rest assured. Am I your second choice?" He stared at me, a stubbornness showing in his eyes. "I am the legitimate daughter of the chief judge of Dali Temple, matched with him. A mere scholar. Even if he becomes the prefect of Yangju in the future, it will be more than sufficient." Yet for some reason, a few traces of timidity have grown in my heart. "Fine, never mind." Before I could reply, he had already said to himself on the carriage back to the manor. Kai Jingyan spoke again. You deliberately brought me here today, didn't you? It was a question, but also a tone of certainty. You knew Prince Minute would get into trouble here. I took a deep breath. He was simply too clever. If I told you that I actually remember things from my previous life, would you believe me? He looked at me steadily for a long time. In your previous life, what kind of person did I become? You were in Yangju, protecting a community of people. They lived in peace and prosperity and had comfortable lives. He asked again, and you? I married Jiyu Jingchu and helped him manage the household and its affairs. The next year I had a child, and I also helped him take a concubine. He respected and revered me. Matters in the inner court were all decided by me, and the concubines and maidens obeyed and behaved, not making trouble. Even when one of them occasionally disobeyed, Jiyu Jingchu left her to me to deal with his father's help. His official career went exceptionally well, and in the end he was even more powerful than his father. But in the year he turned 60 we had the only quarrel of our whole married life, over the matter of our grandson's marriage. He wanted him to marry a fisherman's daughter. I refused. Looking down on the woman for her status and character, she looks gentle and weak, but judging by the way she acts I'm afraid, not someone to be trifled with. Jiyu Jingchu lost his temper. So what if she's delicate? It's not like she's hurt anyone. I was baffled by his sudden shout. It wasn't until that night that I heard him murmuring in the study, being delicate just means she needs a bit more care, that's all. Wan Qin, if I had been braver back then and chosen you, would you not have left so soon? A portrait of Liu Wan Qin is hidden in a secret compartment in the wall, but I'm already 60. What is there left that I can't let go of? So I pretended not to notice, and he took the opportunity to step down. As well, in the end, he chose to respect me and found a high-born, noble lady for his grandson. But I still felt uneasy, always thinking it shouldn't be this way. When I came back to my senses, under Kai Jingyan's gaze, I nodded. Not bad, 3 characters, and they summarize my life. 10. On the day of the spring examination in the year of Ji Jingyan, our engagement spread to everyone. He rode a tall horse to my house, his gaze gently resting on me. We had become the center of attention for everyone. He's the top scorer. Kai Jingyan still didn't say much, but the joy at the corners of his brows couldn't be hidden. I remember that in my previous life he also placed first in the imperial exams, yet he didn't seem this happy. Back then I even thought something had happened to him and quietly asked my father. My father only said, "This child never shows his feelings on his face. Congratulations, sir." Coming back to myself, I bent my knee slightly, but he raised his hand and steadied my elbow. I was thinking, how about not going to Yangju and staying in the capital instead? I was stunned for a moment, and then I heard his explanation. Both your parents are in the capital. Being closer will spare you from constantly worrying about them. Of course, if you really want to go to Yangju, I can go with you. I'll do whatever you want. I couldn't decide for a moment. Kai Jingyan told me to take my time and think it through. He said His Majesty had given him some leeway, and he could wait a few days before reporting back. 11. That very afternoon, Jiyu Jingchu cornered me at the doorway. You actually got engaged to him, Bu Qingyang. Have you been treating everything I said like it went in one ear and out the other? My body shuddered instinctively. I suddenly realized I was still a little afraid of him, so I took a step back. Since Lord Jiyu has chosen someone else, I should live my own life too, shouldn't I? But it's only a temporary measure. He gritted his teeth and stepped forward as I retreated step by step. Please go back. I have no temporary tricks here. Once you choose, you will not regret it. Jiyu Jingchu was so furious that he let out a cold laugh. He looked toward Kai Jingyan walking not far away and raised an eyebrow, saying, would he still be willing to marry you if he knew about the things from the previous life? 12. I looked over instinctively. Kai Jingyan had already come up close. Jiyu Jingchu looked as if he held all the cards and spoke with a faint smile. The top scholar may not know this. There was a misunderstanding between Qingyang and me, and she agreed to marry you out of spite. Now that we've cleared everything up, I hope the top scholar can let go. Kai Jingyan's gaze rested only on me. Is what he said true? Jiyu Jingchu's face turned cold, his eyes carrying a threat. I smiled as I pried his hand away and walked to Kai Jingyan's side. It's not fake. I accepted young Master Kai's engagement with all sincerity. Bu Qingyang. Jiu Jingchu stared at me for a long while. In the end he flicked his sleeve and turned away. You don't know what's good for you. There will come a time when you regret it, I silently replied in my heart. I won't. I seem to understand the reason for that nagging discomfort in my previous life. In that very instant just now, I suddenly understood. Jiu Jingchu appears to respect and value me, but he has never truly kept me in his heart. He only makes decisions for me, then finds ways to persuade me. But Kai Jingyan is different, at least he sincerely considers me. Was he your husband in a past life? His voice came from beside me. I turned my head, and only then did Kai Jingyan slowly look at me. Do you really believe in this, young Master Kai? He laughed, but his eyes showed earnestness. You say it, I believe it. My heart skipped a beat for a moment. If I didn't know that he has always been pure and uninterested, I would have thought he had intentions toward me. 13. I chose to stay in the capital with Kai Jingyan with Prince Min's backing. His starting point in this life is much higher. His official rank is faintly showing signs of closing in on Jiu Jingchu. In the blink of an eye, early summer arrived, and it rained heavily for several days in a row. An official from the Ministry of Revenue at court has stepped down, so a vacancy opened up. Jiu Jingchu came knocking, but his father shut him out. He eventually found his way to me. What did you say to Lord Bu? Why won't he see me? Seeing him look so self-righteous, I stood there stunned for a long time. Bu Qingyang, don't think that without your Bu family I can't take a single step. Since I was able to be reborn, of course I can seize countless opportunities. Just you wait and see. I don't need any of you. I can still get that position. He was furious. He had already walked out, but after a short while, he turned back. I'll give you one more chance. Break off your engagement with Kai Jingyan. I can carry both you and Wan Qin into the house at the same time. You two will be on equal footing. At worst I'll let you live in the east courtyard. He wore an expression as if he were making a great concession, waiting for me to be reasonable. When I said nothing, Jiu Jingchu suddenly slammed the table. She's already yielded this much. What more do you want? The moment he smashed the table, the tea in my hand splashed straight onto his face. I beg you, Lord Jiu, come to your senses. I'm leaving a Zhuangyuan and Hanlin degree holder's main wife behind to become your equal wife. But Kai Jingyan will be nothing more than a magistrate of Yangzhou his whole life. What kind of prospects could he have? How do you know he's still the magistrate of Yangzhou? Jiu Jingchu froze immediately. He clearly remembered that in this life Kai Jingyan never went to Yangzhou. His expression turned fierce in an instant. No wonder I couldn't find him. Turns out someone kept the position for Kai Jingyan, under the emperor's nose. Does your Bu family truly think there are no laws? 14. He ran out like a madman. The maid at the door, Xiangji, was startled. Miss, what's going on? I shook my head. This was nothing more than impotent fury born from impatience. He also knew it was under the emperor's eyes. How could the Bu family be talked about, even in my previous life? My father never intervened much, only offered a slight suggestion or two. Besides, Kai Jingyan's ambitions were not in the Ministry of Revenue. He was more interested in the Ministry of Works. I had just come down from a tavern when I saw Kai Jingyan hurrying over. He stopped in front of me, slightly out of breath. Jiu Jingchu asked to meet me. I know, he sighed, rubbed his nose, then turned his head to pick a hairpin from a nearby stall. This one seems to suit you. Kai Jingyan wasn't a man of many words. When he did talk a lot it was often to cover his fluster like now. His ears were red and he dared not meet my eyes. Could he like me? The thought rose in me for no reason. 15. Having relived a life, I was no longer the girl I once was, but Kai Jingyan was still a half-grown boy. How could he hide his feelings? I'll buy it for you. Seeing me say nothing, Kai Jingyan took out money to buy the hairpin and insisted on escorting me home. In the carriage, he pretended to be composed, holding a book, but he was clearly holding it upside down. I couldn't bear it and snatched the book. Did you come looking for me on purpose? He nodded, afraid you'd be taken away by Jiu Jingchu. Then he hurried to explain. I may not be as smooth-talking as he is, but I would never slight you. When we marry, my salary will all be yours, and I'll work hard to rise so you won't have to suffer following me. He was about to say more, but I covered his mouth. Kai Jingyan froze, his whole face flushing crimson, spreading down to his neck. So, you like me? 16. I voiced the doubt from the bottom of my heart. He was taken aback, widened his eyes and looked at me, then cautiously asked, will you be frightened? I shook my head. So, you like me? This time he nodded. Yes, I do. After saying it he nervously stared at me. I read the letter you gave me. Rest assured, I will not disturb you. I will be self-disciplined and respectful, without your consent. I would never harbor improper thoughts about you. He hurriedly raised a finger, wearing the look of someone about to swear. I had indeed written him a letter because I thought he had no interest in men or women. I suggested a partnership. After marriage, we will present ourselves as husband and wife before others, but live separately at home. We will not interfere with each other. If in the future you fancy another woman, give me a divorce paper and I will comply. I had intended never to truly marry, but I had to consider my parents and the other sisters in the clan, so I came up with this plan. 17. Even after returning home I remained dazed. Kai Jingyan's words still rang in my ears. 3 years ago when I visited the residence, I fell in love with Miss at first sight, but at that time my status was low and I dared not hope for more. Even when I received Miss's letters while in Yangju, I could hardly believe it. I thought if I could pass the provincial exams, there might still be a chance. If I could not, no matter how unwilling I was, I should let go. Miss Bu, if you still have doubts, or wish to break the engagement, I, Kai, will acquiesce. It was I who concealed my feelings first. But matters of love, how can they be hidden? How can matters of love be hidden? I mulled over that last line carefully. So in my previous life Kai Jingyan was not uninterested in women, it was me. I could not digest such a thing at once and stayed indoors for 3 full days. By the time I went out again, the matter of Kai Jingyan being impeached by Jiyu Jingchu had already exploded. The two once prominent young men had become enemies. Jiyu Jingchu publicly mocked him in court, clinging to high families, a despicable and shameless fellow. Living like flies and dogs, I disdain keeping company with such a person. For some reason, Kai Jingyan did not retort. Everyone said he felt guilty, and rumors even began that his talent was all reputation, the most empty-titled top scholar. I think this matter can't be separated from the Bu family either. Who knows, perhaps Lord Bu tampered with things during the spring exam. Wasn't the chief examiner this time a disciple of Lord Bu? Birds of a feather, no wonder Miss Bu wants to marry him as her husband. I hurried to Kai Jingyan's house. 18. Why don't you explain it clearly? Adding to someone's crime, there's no shortage of excuses. Are you stupid? I was so angry that I went to shove him, but he grabbed my hand tightly. Have you made up your mind? If you regret it now and break off the engagement with me, you can sever all ties with me. It won't implicate the Bu family either. I frowned. In these 3 days, I never once thought about breaking off the engagement. What I thought about was my previous life. I sadly realized that perhaps Jiyu Jingchu never loved me. That's why our marriage is like a stagnant pool, so calm that not a single ripple can arise. I thought of one of Jiyu Jingchu's concubines in my previous life. That woman's family was in business and had amassed considerable wealth. When she was first taken into the household, Jiyu Jingchu treated her exceedingly well. Later, the concubine's family fell on hard times and was buried in debt. Jiyu Jingchu suddenly found an excuse to neglect her. The jade you gave me last year was taken by her and sold. A woman like that should be sent away. The concubine cried out that the jade was given by the master, but no one believed her. It wasn't until recently that I figured it out. Perhaps she was telling the truth. Fortunately, in my previous life, seeing how pitiful she was, I only sent her to the estate and still had people take good care of her. Kai Jingyan's burning gaze pulled me back from my memories. He seemed a bit flustered and opened his mouth to ask, do you really intend to break off our engagement, just because I like you? If that's the case, can't I just endure it? I'll endure it and stop liking you. 19. If I refuse to break off the engagement, will you drag the Bu family into this? I looked up at him. Kai Jingyan froze for a moment, then suddenly smiled. That smile was like the sky after a rain, clear and bright, shining as if new. Then I'll go find him and tell the world I didn't do such a thing. I will never let you down, nor our teacher. So he was waiting for me here. Then go ahead, I smiled and said. Go tell Jiyu Jingchu that you live up to your name. Good. Kai Jingyan turned around and left. In the end, he actually broke into a jog 2 lifetimes now. And I had never seen such a lively side of him. Later I learned that he had gone to file a petition with the emperor in the vigor of his youth. He was frank and fearless. As a disciple of the Son of Heaven, he engaged in a debate with Jiyu Jingchu directly before the emperor. For every point Jiyu Jingchu questioned, he refuted one, until the light in the emperor's eyes as he looked at him grew ever more intense, until Jiyu Jingchu had nothing left to say. Jiyu Jingchu lowered his head unwillingly. Apologies. I wronged Lord Kai. Kai Jingyan waved his hand indifferently. It's a trivial matter. You and I are colleagues, both serving His Majesty, so it's understandable, but I still have some doubts here that I hope Lord Jiyu can help clear up. 20. Before Jiyu Jingchu could react, Kai Jingyan launched a series of attacks. That lone girl from Yangju had a unique military manual, and a month ago someone cleverly and forcefully took it from her. She was killed again on her way to the capital to report, and that solitary manuscript had just been sent to General Chang by Your Excellency a while ago. I don't know where the solitary manuscript in Master Gu's possession came from. Jiyu Jingchu's brows knitted in a frown, about to speak, but was interrupted by Kai Jingyan. Sir, please don't be anxious. I have other matters to ask you as well. You can go back and think it over carefully. Once you've figured it out, you can answer everything together. Thus, one issue after another was laid out by Kai Jingyan. Jiyu Jingchu was clearly flustered. The superior emperor's face turned ashen. That very day, Jiyu Jingchu was sent to prison. Kai Jingyan left the palace alone and came straight to my home at that time. Xiangji was practicing the rumors from outside. The young lady doesn't know. Jiyu Jingchu was grilled by our Lord Kai until he was sweating profusely, unable to fight back at all. It's just that our Lord Kai is so eloquent outside. Yet why is it that in front of the young lady he always, halfway through her sentence? Xiangji saw Kai Jingyan approaching, quickly shut her mouth, and found an excuse to leave. When he reached me, Kai Jingyan spoke nervously. Would you be upset, seeing my confusion? He explained. If I treat him like this, would you be upset? No, I and Jiyu Jingchu have already become a thing of the past. He now bears the consequences of his own actions. In the previous life, he held a high position and naturally knew many secrets that others did not know. But he was too hasty. He even disregarded human life to achieve his goals. An accident was only a matter of time, but I didn't expect that he'd be released after just one night in jail. 21. Kai Jingyan was furious too, but there was nothing he could do because the person who let him out was the emperor. Not only did he release him, he also promoted him 2 ranks. Jiyu Jingchu was riding a wave of boundless momentum. The tide in the capital shifted in an instant. It's all Kai Jingyan's jealousy. Deliberately setting obstacles, all of that is slander. Lord Jiyu loves the people like his own children and would never do such a thing. I hurried to find Kai Jingyan, only to see him sitting opposite Prince Minute, drinking tea. Both of them looked at me in astonishment. Just as I hesitated, King Minute smiled and spoke. This must be Miss Bu Qingyang, the one Lord Kai has been thinking about, isn't it? Yes. Kai Jingyan stood up and pulled me to sit beside him. I was startled and hurriedly lowered my head. King Minute couldn't help teasing as he was about to leave. I can see that the young lady of the Bu family is quite worried about Lord Kai. Kai Jingyan's face was full of pride. She's naturally worried about me. I looked over and saw the light in his eyes so bright that it could no longer be hidden, spilling out continuously, so I quickly turned my head aside, but secretly relaxed a little. 22. The day of my marriage to Kai Jingyan was unusually quiet. All the ministers in the court went to Jiyu Jingchu. Only a third of the seats were filled, and the expressions on everyone's faces were very awkward. Later, some people simply left early. Kai Jingyan gently squeezed my hand. Sorry for putting you through this. I shook my head. He knew long ago that not many people would come today, yet he still handled everything to the usual standard, carefully selecting every single dish. What do I have to find fault with? It would be a waste to leave it as is. Why not invite the neighbors over to sit for a while and liven things up? Kai Jingyan's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly nodded. He still lived on the same long street as before. The neighbors were all ordinary folk. When they heard there would be a feast at his house, everyone felt embarrassed to come empty-handed. Official Kai, my family has no other good things. These 2 eggs were laid by our hen this morning. I couldn't bear to eat them, so I wish you an early arrival of honorable children. Official Kai, these are fresh vegetables from our home, just picked from the field. Look, everyone stared at him eagerly, and he said with a smile, just come and enjoy the feast, no need to bring anything. How about this? I appreciate your kindness, but after we finish eating, take everything back with you. How does that sound? Hearing him say that, everyone wasn't very happy. How could that be? One meal from you is worth more than so many of our things. If you won't accept it, we won't eat. Then take it. Everyone, have a seat. I stepped forward and said with a smile. Kai Jingyan hurriedly said, if madam says take it, then take it. A wedding banquet, quite unique, joyful and lively, full of blessings. Kai Jingyan had a few extra drinks, and his cheeks were slightly flushed. When he returned to the room, he buried his face in my neck and murmured softly, who would have thought the old man next door could hold his liquor so well? I actually can't outdrink him. Warm breath curled behind my ear. Ticklish. Bu Qingyang. Are we really only a couple in name before others? 23. Tonight is our wedding night. He paused. If you don't want to, then forget it. I said I wouldn't force you. He seemed to deflate, suddenly pulling away, but I hooked an arm around his neck. Master Kai, is this playing hard to get? Kai Jingyan stared at my lips and swallowed. A little. I just don't know if it worked. I let out a soft laugh and brushed a quick, dragonfly-like kiss over him. He shuddered all over, pressing against my back the moment I tried to escape. My eyes widened. The man's muffled voice came. You were the one who provoked me first. I want us to be husband and wife in private too. I smile and play along. Not until I was so exhausted I couldn't lift my arms, drenched in sweat. Did it suddenly hit me? It feels like I lived my last life in vain. 24. They say enemies are bound to cross paths. On my return home day, I actually ran into Jiyu Jingchu. He was escorting Liu Wanqin back home. Kai Jingyan and I steered our carriage aside to let them pass, which made Jiyu Jingchu quite smug. Bu Qingyang, do you regret it? His horse stopped beside our carriage, and he asked indifferently, but I had no time to respond. Inside the carriage, Kai Jingyan was kissing my lips. Bu Qingyang, what's wrong? Do you not even dare to see me? I sighed inwardly. Having lived a whole lifetime, how can he still be so stubborn? So, I lifted the carriage curtain and looked over. Jiyu Jingchu's pupils suddenly contracted. What were you two doing just now? What else could we be doing? It's between husband and wife, and we weren't in public. What's it to him? Bu Qingyang, how can you be so shameless? Jiyu Jingchu was shaking with rage. I was utterly bewildered. How does being close with my husband make me shameless? But you, Lord Jiyu, freshly wed, why aren't you sharing a carriage with your lady? Jiyu Jingchu took a deep breath and finally managed to steady his emotions. I'll make you regret this. He spurred his horse and left, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Liu Wanqin hastily lifted the carriage curtain and found that her husband was already gone. Furious, she stamped her foot and stood at the front of the carriage, glaring at me with hatred. Are you satisfied now? I remembered what Kai Jingyan looked like on our wedding night and nodded. I was indeed quite satisfied in every way. However, she didn't seem very pleased. 25. Not only was I satisfied, but my family was also very pleased. After dinner, father took Kai Jingyan to the study to discuss business. While I sat with mother and chatted about ordinary things, I've been watching this child Jingyan, and he's no worse than Jingchu. When you first brought him up, I was worried for a while, but now it seems my concerns were needless. I lowered my head and embroidered Mandarin ducks, smiling as I replied, I'm relieved as long as mother can be at ease. He's a bit better off now, though still in some difficulty. Fortunately, his temperament is steady, neither arrogant nor rash. Your father said that's not a bad thing. Mother was comforting me, easing the worry that had arisen recently because of the matters between Jiyu Jingchu and Kai Jingyan. Although the emperor had released Jiyu Jingchu and even granted him rank, he had not punished Kai Jingyan. This indicated that things were not as the outside world had been saying. judging by your looks, he must have already told you." My mother's face was full of gratification. "That he lets you know everything. He seems to be a husband who values you." Qingyang. She had barely finished speaking when Kai Jingyan appeared outside the door. He walked straight toward me, then suddenly realized something and hurriedly bowed to his mother. Mother couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Go on. Take your husband around the house." Kai Jingyan's face flushed as he awkwardly took his leave. No sooner had he stepped out of her courtyard than he couldn't help but grab my hand. I blushed and, seeing all the servants in the yard, couldn't help but lightly smack him. "It hurts. Qingyang, take it easy." Kai Jingyan suddenly leaned in, his tone plaintive. 26. I was greatly shocked and hurried my pace. "Qingyang." Kai Jingyan trailed closely behind me. It wasn't until I entered my boudoir that, just as I was about to close the door, he quickly squeezed in and shut it behind him, in broad daylight. "Why are you closing the door?" I reached out to open it, but he pulled me into his arms. Kai Jingyan rested his chin on my shoulder, wrapped his arm around my waist and gently swayed. "I'm very happy." I froze. He kissed my earlobe and repeated, "Your husband is very happy today." "I know. So why is my husband happy today?" "Because my wife only has eyes for me." "When did my eyes become filled with only him?" Kai Jingyan pulled me forward. I had to follow and ended up falling back onto the bed, his palm pressed against my waist, supporting my lower back, his lips near mine. When my wife met Jiyu Jingchu, her eyes still had only me in them. His voice was bewitching, dangerously tempting. It was an experience I had never had before, a maddening, itching longing to get closer to him, and I truly did, pressing my lips to his. I murmured, only you." Kai Jingyan went rigid all over, his eyes snapping wide. I pushed him away to escape, but he effortlessly pulled me back into his arms. 27. Kai Jingyan seemed bewitched, holding me while smiling foolishly and absent-mindedly, occasionally kissing my lips. Only after he'd laughed enough did he speak sullenly, "Isn't it kind of awkward at my mother's house?" Before he finished, he suddenly looked up, his eyes shining as he stared at me. "Can we go back?" Something occurred to me and my heart plunged. I was about to refuse, but Kai Jingyan grabbed my hand and pressed it to his chest. "Qingyang, will you love me?" It was unbearable, so I made an excuse to go back with him. Mother hurriedly had someone pack up the soup that was still simmering in the kitchen. "Take it back to eat." "Thank you, Mother." Kai Jingyan did not refuse either. He bowed respectfully. Though she had clearly walked several steps away, I heard my mother's restrained laughter from behind. Kai Jingyan quickly grabbed my hand, holding it tightly. "Mother understands." 28. The next news of Jiyu Jingchu came 3 months later. He had been imprisoned again, and this time the emperor issued a decree: behead and display the body. As for the reason, it was summed up in a few sparse words. The charges listed every accusation that Kai Jingyan had once reported against him that day. After finishing his duties and returning, Kai Jingyan said to me, "He wishes to see you." It was Jiyu Jingchu. I went to see him one last time. Jiyu Jingchu in the cell was neat and clean. It seemed he hadn't been subjected to any punishment. I didn't expect that in the end it would be me who regrets it. His eyes were red, his voice hoarse. I thought I had seized the advantage, but it turned out to be a death warrant. "Bu Qingyang, did you foresee this would happen?" I shook my head. "No, I'm not a sage. I can't predict everything. I just thought he was dangerous. That kind of madness is terrifying. If I had married you, how wonderful that would have been." Liu Wanqin was never as good as you. When she found out I was in trouble, she packed the family's valuables and ran away with someone. The laughable thing is she actually took a liking to a groom. Bu Qingyang, I really regret it. I looked up at Jiyu Jingchu. "Good thing you didn't marry me. I'm doing quite well now." "You, after a long while." Jiyu Jingchu replied, "Did you have a bad life in your previous life? I used to think it was pretty good, but only now do I realize it wasn't. A life lived by the book, resigned to fate. That was my past life." Knowing Jiyu Jingchu was stubborn, I never contradicted him. Knowing his actions weren't always above board, I turned a blind eye. If I didn't probe, there was less to worry about. Everyone else said it was fine, so I told myself to be content, but only now do I understand what truly good means. Jiyu Jingchu collapsed to the ground, face streaming with tears. If I begged you to help me, would you, out of the ties from our past life, help me? He was unusually fragile and pitiable, but I shook my head and refused. You deserve everything that's happening to you. No one can help you. From the moment he chose to confess his reincarnation to the Emperor, his fate was sealed. 3 months was enough for the Emperor to extract countless future details from him, and enough to squeeze out all his value. Especially when the Emperor discovered his connection to the new ruler of the previous life, he became even more wary. Jiyu Jingchu had changed the course of the future by himself, and to die cleanly was the last shred of dignity the Emperor allowed him. Aren't you afraid I'll tell them you're a reincarnated person too? I cooled my face. You can go ahead and say it. Someone would have to believe him. I'm merely a woman who has never done anything scandalous. Even if I had been reborn, I pose no threat to them. Clearly Jiyu Jingchu had thought of that as well. If there is a next life, I'll choose you. I felt nothing but disgust. If there were a next life, I would go straight to Yangju to find Kai Jingyan and wouldn't even give Jiyu Jingchu a chance to refuse me. When I was released from prison, Kai Jingyan's carriage was waiting outside. I had just lifted the curtain when he dragged me in and held me tightly. You were inside for the length of half an incense stick. Subtract the time spent walking. That's enough for you to say a dozen or so sentences. Qingyang, I won't ask what you two said, but you must kiss me 20 times. I was momentarily at a loss for words, otherwise I'll be wronged. Kai Jingyan pressed my hand to his chest, practically pouting as he waited for me to act. Resigned, I leaned in, and he suddenly deepened the kiss until I was panting and glaring at him. Only then did he smile brightly and say, "That's one. We'll owe the remaining 19 for now." Kai Jingyan, Madam, I'm jealous, please indulge me.